Best Podcast Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, an award-winning, full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that is changing the way businesses hire and pay for their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My Six, a one-of-a-kind, complete legal audit of the 6 areas most likely to get a business sued or investigated. Lawsuits no longer have to be the cost of doing business. They are distracting, time-consuming, expensive, and with Cover My Six, often avoidable. Go to covermysix.com to learn how we keep your company safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
All right, kids, we are rolling. So, Molly Gebler.
Yes, Alex Gertzberg.
This is a very special best podcast ever.
We are like remote. We are not in the office.
That's true.
This is huge.
You left Chagrin Falls and there's no snow on the ground. You got here and as of the other day there was 2 feet of snow.
Crazy out here.
Yeah, isn't it something?
Very
Did you see
thankful
the reindeer
for
coming
that.
in?
We did see the reindeer coming in.
We have questions about the reindeer.
I completely missed this. My OnStar told me it was going to be on the left. So I completely...
It's done purposely.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that.
Well, and whoever shovels Santa's driveway did a phenomenal job. Because Molly's got an SUV, but I have a clown car.
Yes.
And so it would have been elves.
Elves.
That was my theory. I said that. All right. So here we are. We are at, where are we, Molly?
We are in Middlefield. Yes?
Yes.
Middlefield, Ohio.
That's all we can say.
This is where, listen to that one.
Santa's ringtone is really festive, as you would expect.
Yes.
You can get that if you need to.
No. Put it on the answer machine.
Yes, Middlefield. We come out here a lot, actually.
Yeah?
Yes, we've had a Amish family who's cleaned our house for generations and generations, and this is where they live. So we've been to their weddings, and so I am familiar with Middlefield, but that's all we're going to say. We're not even going to say the street because it's so private.
It is a secret location.
Yes.
Would you say this is so we are at Santa's Hideaway is the formal name.
Santa's Hideaway Hollow.
Santa's Hideaway Hollow.
Right.
I kind of see it as sort of Santa's satellite office. Would you say that's a fair?
this is where Santa stays when he's not at the North Pole.
Okay.
He's got various locations like this all over the world. When he comes locally to see some children, some special children that can't come to see him.
Yeah.
You know, be at the mall, be at a store, be at a restaurant, be it back home. So he comes to them. He travels it here to see them.
Yeah. And, given all of the traveling that Santa's got to do, I would imagine he would need stopping off points, kind of like rest stops on the turnpike, right? You might say this might be like a rest stop, but it's also, like you say, and to be clear, we're speaking right now with Bill, who bears a striking resemblance to Santa.
He does.
Striking.
We will take the picture will be up. The selfie will be up.
It's uncanny.
I don't see it.
A little Tom Cruise, a little Santa Claus.
Bill thought that he got a lot of Tom Cruise.
I see it.
Mistakes.
The eyes.
It's uncanny.
Yes. So can we just reverse and start from the beginning because there's just so much. You
mean we're not over?
And that's it, folks. We'll see you. Next week.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for coming. So the beginning, your calling. You had another calling, if I'm reading my research correctly, to be a priest.
Correct.
And did that transform?
Boy, I blew that, didn't I?
I think the wife and child might have thrown that. Yeah.
The wife, not so much. Not so much. I always told her if something ever happened between us or something ever happened to her, I would go back.
Wow.
I would finish.
How long ago was that?
About 2.5 weeks.
You were thinking about being a priest?
No,
he was in a seminary.
I came out of grammar school.
Yeah.
I lived in Chicago. Came out of grammar school and went into the Servite Order of Servants of Mary, OSM, and studied to be a priest. So for 7.5 years, I left home and lived in a seminary, studying, doing theology, doing everything, studying Latin, in my studies to be a priest. After 7.5 years, I got a little bit concerned. Was I supposed to be there? I got into arguments with some of the priests that were there because I said my generation wants more of an answer than just because.
Yeah.
And
fair statement.
One priest hit me and said, "Do you really think you belong here if you keep on questioning everything?" And I said, "I think I belong here because I am questioning everything." But I decided to take a break, and I then went and switched colleges, because at that time I would have been in my third year of school, and I switched to a college called St. Procopius, which was run by the Jesuits in Lisle, Illinois.
Okay.
And continued my education there, continued theology, continued my Latin. Always thinking, yeah, maybe I'll go back. You know, I just need some time. And came from a very religious family. That I had an uncle that was a Monsignor. I had two uncles that were pastor priests, and I had a cousin that was a monk. So it was very much expected of me to go back. So when I was at college, I picked up a campus newspaper, and there was a midnight bellman's job at Stouffer Hotel, which was 20 minutes away. So I applied for that, thinking, what a great opportunity! I can just sit there at night and study and get paid for it. You know how many guests check in after midnight?
Right.
Well, a lot. But that started a different career for me. Went to Stouffer's. They put me in their management training program.
Give us a timeline here. So how long ago is this?
1971.
Okay.
Ended up staying with Stouffer's 13.5 years.
Great company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cleveland-based.
Absolutely, yeah. Got to know Verna Stouffer very well.
Wow.
I was very impressed by the company. Back then it was a smaller company.
She was a single mother. Yes.
His mom and dad started a little lunch stand here in Cleveland.
Okay.
And the big seller was apple pie.
Yes.
And I think that if I'm right, they had 3 kids. But Vernon is the one that started Stouffer's and did an exceptional job with it. Eventually it was sold to Litton Industries. Eventually it was sold to Nestle. But they taught me all I know. In my life, income, my work life was all started by Stouffer's. And had I not had that training, and also when I was with Stouffer's, I traveled all over the country. I invented the French bread pizza.
I read that.
Yes.
Let's take a pause on
Yes.
that. You invented the French bread pizza, and that's what it says on Santa's Hideaways about. Now, when I read that,
That's a big statement.
I said that's a bold statement. Walk us through.
Why is it bold?
Well, because
the truth is not bold.
because
There you go.
I'll tell you why. It seems like French bread has always been around, and pizza's always been around.
Yeah, but Stouffer's made the French bread pizza.
And they
iconic.
are delicious.
Well, Stouffer's was the first one to do it and put the two together. And I'll tell you honestly, here's what happened.
Yeah.
One of my responsibilities was Blossom Music Center, Saratoga Performing Arts Center, Sugarbush Ski Resort, Meadowbrook Music Festival, Meadowbrook Hall, Wolfgang Park in Virginia. And when I took over Blossom as a Stouffer food service, I never made money. The food service of Blossom never made money. So Jim Bigger came and tapped me on the shoulder and told me that he wants me to take over this account because he wants a restaurant guy, to go in there and turn this thing around and make money, because they had this idea of going into that field. So the pressure was on. So if you go back to Blossom now, and the law now that you can't come in with bottles and cans, I started that.
Oh, thanks a lot. My 18-year-old self isn't happy about that.
When you come into there and you had the beer bottles for sale, the beer jugs for sale, that was all me. The multiple bathrooms that were being built and the concession stands, that was me. The pavilions, the party tents, the party pavilions, that was me. All that in the essence of turning it around. Now, there is a laugh to all this. When I came out of the seminary, the seminary to the Catholic University, I never had any experience with drugs. None. So I'm at Blossom for my first rock concert. And I'm
who
walking.
Who was the band?
Beach Boys, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And I was walking down the hill from my office to the lower concession stand. And there was this cloud that was just hanging above everybody. And I couldn't imagine what it was. But here's my education. People that were using those funny cigarettes get hungry. So I opened up the concession stands on the hill during the intermission. And then if you remember going there, I'm sure you both were, that at the end of the concert, you would see the golf carts and the Gators going through the parking lot selling leftover boxes of popcorn, hot dogs, Pepsi.
Wow.
To all the people sitting in line waiting to get out.
Right. Oh, that's great.
And then I opened up a wine room up in the top pavilion. And so bottles of wine. And back then it was, what was it? Red Ripple, Boone Dog, whatever that is. Mad Dog, I'm sorry. Boone's Farm. It was just a home run.
Boy, I'll tell you, as somebody who has gone to many of those concerts and walked through many of those clouds, I can tell you the French bread pizza was the top of mind at that time. I can picture myself craving it right now.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's how we started. We started hawking it. We started hawking it on the grass.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and we developed it at Stouffer's in the kitchen, playing around one day, and during a rainstorm, as a matter of fact, and it wasn't coming out right. Then I made a phone call to Nick Orlando, who owns Orlando Bakery, Nick Senior. Mm-hmm. So I said, "Listen, I have this idea, and I'm working on this." And I said, "I'll come out and I'll talk to you." So he came out. So I wanted him to get me day-old French bread. I didn't want fresh. I wanted day-old French bread.
There's the trick.
Brilliant.
So I started something at that. Then we'd freeze it, and then we'd warm it when the rock concerts were there. And this went on and went on and on, and it was very successful. But the only thing we did back then, we only had two. We had pepperoni and we had cheese.
Those are the only two important ones in my opinion.
Then Jim Bigger, who was president of the Stouffer's, would come out to some of the orchestra concerts, and he said, "Hey, what's this pizza I'm hearing about?" And I said, "I don't serve it on orchestra nights, I would say a little bit more, fancy crowd, because we have to close the concession as soon as the concerts start and all this." And I said, "Well, we do it on rock concerts." He goes, "We have it tomorrow?" I said, "Absolutely." So the next day he comes out and he takes back, I think, a dozen French bread pizza. All right. So comes out the next rock concert, takes back 2 dozen. The next time he comes out, he takes back 3 dozen. So then he's bringing people out to the rock concert. Now, and Jim Biggers are a tremendous important man to that company at that time. They're coming out in 3-piece suits to get pizza at a rock concert. And I want to know what our cost was and how it broke down and what our return on investment was and so forth, because we had to buy an oven. We didn't have ovens back then. Pizza ovens down at a concession stand. So shortly after that, I got a letter from him saying, "Cease and desist. No more pizza. We're taking it into the frozen food line. Thank you very much." All right. I got a $5,000 bonus. I should have held out for a penny a box. But as you know, when you're an employee for somebody, it's theirs.
So you were Stouffer's at that time, not Blossom. You were with Stouffer's.
We had the food contract at Blossom for Stouffer's, and that's where it started.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
the new people today at Nestle don't even.
They don't know the history.
No.
And such a great history there. Do you feel like the seminary and now with Stouffer's, which speaks, they're just iconic when it comes to business. Then you transition. What made you transition? Why didn't you just stay with Stouffer's? Why?
Well, I was with them 13 and a half years, and my boss left the company and asked me to come with him, and I really liked him a lot. And I was traveling so much. It was just, you come home for a day and you're gone on the road again. And I liked it, okay? But
it was time.
I think I was confused as, was it really Stouffer's I loved, or was it working for this one particular VP? All right? So I made the change. And it was a good move for me, because it really made my salary escalate and my opportunities opened up. I ended up going to Tony Roma's as a VP and Director of Operations and Marketing. And if you remember back in 1987 when the rib cook-off was huge, we won it.
My question is, do you feel all these steps were your path? They were supposed to be there for you to be who you are right now?
You know, that's a question that's very hard to answer because I don't know, because you can't go back and look at the opposite direction. You know, we all come to forks in our road and we all have to make a decision. Through my lifetime, I've been offered a lot of opportunities. I was offered the presidency of Damon's Restaurants. I turned it down. I was offered a presidency of a chain of nightclubs that wanted to introduce restaurants to them at a very high class. Turned that down because I didn't want to relocate, and the chain itself wasn't the chain that I would want to tell my daughter I work for. Okay, if you can understand that. So you make decisions as they come every day, and either if you look back all the time, you can't go forward. So every decision I've made, I think I've done okay for myself and my family. I've had a great time. I mean,
what was the fork that brought you here?
My wife. You mean to Cleveland?
Well, here and to doing what you do now.
Well, I've been doing this 36 years.
Okay.
How it all started was very simple. We lived in Bainbridge, and my wife asked me to find her dad a couple of jobs at Santa Claus because he retired from Ohio Bell. And he's a big man. He looked like General Ben. Very, very nice guy. And she said, "Hey, Bill, you know everybody. Can you find him a couple of jobs?" And I said, "Oh, come on. I don't want to get involved in this." And, you know, it's very hard being married because, you know, the woman has always been classified as the weaker sex. Boy, I tell you, they wield a lot of power. You know,
Tremendous amount
There
of
is
power.
no such thing as the weaker sex, unless it's come back to us. But
We are the weaker sex,
yes,
for sure.
But I did find him a job. Breezewood Garden Center in Bainbridge hired him for their open house for Christmas. And about a week before the event, he came to my house and handed me his red suit and said, "I can't do this. I went deaf in one ear. You got to take my place." And I just think he got scared, and you know, because he'd never worked that closely with kids and so forth. Sitting in a restaurant is easier, you know, just get a picture and you're done.
Yeah.
So my wife made me do it. And I, of course, said no, and I spent 3 nights on the couch. But she wielded the power. So I did it. And it was 3 days, 2 hours a day, which I didn't realize. The first day I was there, she put me in his Santa suit with the tape-on mustache, the tape-on beard, the
So you did not
plastic boots.
look the way you do
plastic, oh, no.
back
no,
then.
I looked more like Tom Cruise.
Right.
And she stood about 10, 15 feet away from me, told me I didn't ho-ho-ho enough, I didn't smile enough, I need to work on my
love this woman.
belly.
Oh, Mrs. Claus.
So I got lectures that night as we got home, and I changed clothes to go to work. The next day was a Saturday, and we got dressed again, and took me over there in her car. And I got to tell you, getting out of a car in front of kids, that's a terrible appearance. You know, it just doesn't look right. So,
In the suit.
in the suit.
They expect you to get out of a
Sleigh.
reindeer sleigh.
Yeah.
Well, yes, or fire
or a
trucks,
fire truck.
Right.
or police cars,
Any of those.
and now
Yeah.
we own all that. We own 8 fire trucks.
I
we have
saw
2
them
police
coming
cars.
in, yeah.
So the next day the line was very long. And again, this was all free. Breezewood did a tremendous job back then. Rich K was the owner, and now he's deceased, but did a
Danny's.
tremendous thing. So I have a long line, and off to the corner, a mom walked in the door with her young son, who was 6 years old. He left her hand, ran across the room, jumped in my lap, put both arms around my neck, and squeezed. The employees came up to put him at the end of the line, and I just put my hands up and said, "No, let's just get this done." Took off his cap to get a picture. He was totally bald, had a scar from the top of his head down behind his ear into his throat. Looked over, mom's crying. And the strangest thing to me was I saw his mom crying, and she had the biggest smile on her face. And I couldn't understand the two. All right, how do you smile and cry? So I positioned him on my lap, asked him what he wanted for Christmas, and he said nothing. So I now notice mom is even crying more.
I should have brought Tish did this one.
And I put
brought
him back on my lap, and I said, come on, you got him on something. What do you want for Christmas? And he said, Santa, you know I'm dying. Just make my mommy happy. That was my first introduction to children who were sick. That was the very first time that I had ever experienced that. Didn't know what to say. I didn't want to be there. I mean, I was just ill-prepared. So I had a chance that day to talk to his mom, found out that he was a patient at Rainbow. She took him off the floor that morning.
Wow.
She wanted one last picture. She wanted one more Christmas with her son. And after the day, she then took him back to Rainbow. So his name was Joey. He was 6 years old. And I think that day, that child, I grew up. And I realized that it wasn't all about me and all about work and all about whatever. I needed to do something. But I didn't know I was going to do this. I mean, this Santa's Hideaway was not born then. Okay, I think a little bit in my heart was born, but the idea of where we would go with it, I had no idea. I mean, we didn't plan this. And that's the honest thing, is all this that's here now, it was never planned. All right? It just became.
Let's paint a picture here, right, for the kids listening at home, right? So we pulled off the road. It's a nondescript location. You would never know that what is back here, except for a candy cane and a bunch of American flags across the street from a lumber yard.
Careful. You're getting too specific
Well,
now.
Middlefield's a big town. Nobody will know. So you pull in, you look to your right. How many acres over here, Bill?
93.
93 acres, right? Now it's snowy outside. Everything's covered. You pull up and there's a police car that says Elf, what is it? Elf Police Station?
It says North Pole Secret Service.
North Pole Secret Service.
Close.
Then there's a fire truck after that says something similar on it.
North Pole Fire Department.
North Pole Fire Department.
And then
You look
13
to
reindeer.
You look to the right. There are 13 reindeer running around.
Yes.
Um,
I mean, full antler reindeer.
right, full antlers.
Dwarf reindeer, no?
No.
Then there's this beautiful home. You walk in. We rang the doorbell.
Santa came to the
Santa
door.
came to the door, and when we say Santa came to the door, Molly and I are sitting here across from you, Bill. You're wearing a red shirt, and you may very well be Santa Claus, and Molly and I would never know it. So we'll leave the mystery out there. But behind Bill and surrounding us are, the Nutcracker guards and angels. Life size. Yeah. There's a giant Christmas tree. More Nutcracker guards over there.
Full clock.
You couldn't, man, if I had to count the number of angels and singing dolls and candlesticks, I mean, pretty much it's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
It is.
This year round. This is what this house would look like year round, right? It's not just because we're a couple of weeks away.
No, it's always like
Always
this.
like
Yeah.
that.
It looks like.
I will say that it was my privilege and honor this past weekend to put the suit on for the first time ever. We wanted to carol and chagrin, and I just wanted to do it a little differently. So I had a full suit, and I put it on, and I am not kidding you. It was, and I think I said to you, it was one of the best evenings of my life.
It was a significant emotional event for you.
It was, and it was, and it wasn't. It was the kids running up to me and telling me what they wanted, and the awe in their eyes, and it was. And I will be back again next weekend during the day because there weren't enough kids.
It's an awesome responsibility to wear the red suit, because the children really believe, and if they say things to you, you have to really be cognizant of what you say in return.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't make false promises. I have made a lot of promises to children that I've met certain families that were in need, certain families that were sick, and children asked for this or for that, and I would say, yes, I will have it. And the parents standing 4 feet behind them trying to wave to me say, no, we
Terrified.
can't afford it. And I produced it. I made sure they had it, because if I promise something, it's going to be there.
So let's talk about that, right? So 58,000 kids. Is that what it says?
Oh no, you read a lot. You read a.
That's
lot.
outdated now.
3,000 this weekend.
Yeah, it's over
So-
160 now.
160,000 kids.
Yeah, in 36 years.
And how many of those had like a chronic illness or?
I can't break that down. I
Okay.
don't know because when we go to the hospitals, you may have 3, 4, 5 children that are very ill, but
Okay.
I can't walk down the hallway without seeing them all.
Right.
But we also visit the siblings and we visit, the entire family. So that number includes all children, not just the
Right,
sick.
right.
But these days, is that the focus of Santa's Hideaway over here?
Just children who are critically ill, terminally ill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only open for them. It's not open to the public. In fact, we turn people away. That's why the gates are all closed and locked and occupied. The only way you come onto the property is you have to have a written invitation that the hospitals pass out to the patients in the hospital. They hand deliver it. The elves hand deliver it on invitation day. So the elves will go out and they'll pass out the invitations to the children that are sick and invite them on a certain day, on a specific day that we work with this hospital or that hospital or this organization or that organization. Be it craniofacial, be it the clinic, be it Metro, be it Akron Children's, be it Hillside, be it Nationwide. It's every day is a different organization.
So they get the invitation and they come back all together. They make an appointment with you to come back. How do they?
99.9% of our kids come through an organization. Okay, we very, very rarely will ever walk up to a family, but I have done that. Then what we have worked out is the hospital then will get all the names, all the ages, all the reservations, and they'll call us and we'll make the determination. Are they coming by car or do we send a bus?
Or a helicopter, yes?
Helicopters come here.
Yes.
Yeah, we have our own landing pad.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
You have a helipad at Santa's Hideaway.
Yes, right. And that's for the medical helicopters.
Yeah.
Because the kids that are here are sick.
Yeah.
We don't fly the kids in, but we may have to fly them back out.
Right.
Right.
And there were real miracles that you've witnessed over the last 30 plus years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we read about some of them on your website. One kid in a coma, right, that you visited, didn't have much of a chance, came out a few weeks after that, right?
There's been many kids in a coma. Doctors, they still haven't determined the actual what happens in a coma. But when you talk to kids that were in comas, they heard everything.
Yeah.
So you don't miss the opportunity. If you've got a child that's in that state,
right,
or an adult, you talk to them. Mm-hmm. You talk to them. You tell them you love them. So I have done that. So, but me, I tell them that I'm there for them, and I'm sorry that they weren't awake. And when you wake up, I will be back. It's so many days to Christmas, and we've heard stories back that one little girl woke up and said Santa was here. She knew right away. Mm-hmm. Well, one hospital called me and said the child you had talked to 4 weeks ago. This was in February. The child now came out of the coma, and would I come back? So the hospital redecorated their lobby, and we went back to have Christmas in February at Akron Children's Hospital in their lobby.
And this is what that hideaway is all about, is so that a child can come anytime during the year and experience Christmas, because some of them, it may be February, like you're saying, and they won't be able to make it to December. So they can come here.
What we do is we provide the family an opportunity to have Christmas. For many, it's one last time as a family, as a unit, so that they're all together. So we give them a chance to create memories. We give them a chance to take photos. We give them a chance to really embrace the holiday for what it is. One of the hardest things, and I'm sure many of your listeners experienced a loved one, passing away before Christmas, and having that first Christmas without them there. It's pretty devastating. It's pretty hard. But we're usually talking about somebody that was older, maybe had an illness. But when you're talking about a child, a very young child who never had a chance to enjoy life or enjoyed the longevity of life. They certainly enjoyed life. That would probably be a misquote. But they didn't get a chance to enjoy the longevity of life. It's pretty hard, and you know, I can't really understand where people would say to a person who lost a child, you know, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, because it never is.
No.
You know, you can't imagine walking in their footsteps.
Right.
You know, one of my biggest quirks is when you see a catastrophe. You know, the Chardon school shooting, the New York bombing. You know, the crazy politicians would get up in front of a microphone and say, "We're strong. We're going to get through this." How dare they? How dare they make that statement that when that family who lost a child will never be the same?
Have you ever? So I was going to ask you, like, how do you keep it together, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I couldn't even.
Molly's over here falling apart just listening to this. Like, do you
Yeah.
ever have? Do you ever?
Every one of my volunteers at one time or another, every one of them is broken down.
Yeah.
My wife and my daughter were heading to a baby shower for one of my A-team Alves got married, and she was having a baby shower, and I had a visit that day with another child coming to Santa's house, so I stayed behind, and with my B team, the families were picked up in fire trucks. We had two families. We sent fire trucks to their house, pick them up, and they're coming back to us at the North Pole. And my wife and my daughter are traveling the opposite direction on 480. And there's my wife going down, and sees the first fire truck and goes, "Oh, look, there's a family going to see Dad." And then she traveled another 2 miles, and there was a second fire truck coming with another family. And my wife goes, "Oh, look, there's another family." And she goes, "Oh my God, how devastated this must be for them," you know. And then she pulled over and she cried for the half hour. And she's went around it all the time. I have a fireman who drives for me. I met him 20-some years ago when his daughter died. I got to visit her, and he came back and wanted to help. And I said, you know, and he's an actual fireman. And I said, you know, this might not be good for you. For 20 years, he was a rock. And then one day we're out, and then the weather changed, and they put the kids inside the fire trucks. And the little girl that got in the cab next to him was a spitting image of his daughter. And he just couldn't drive. He literally could not drive.
What do you do? Do you have to? Is there something you have to tell yourself to, or are you just wired differently? Right? I mean, because I don't think I could keep it together, doing what you do.
Through the years, I have been pulled out of a hallway and asked to be an honorary godfather for a baby that was being baptized because she wasn't going to make it. I have been asked to hold children that had passed away in the morning prior to my visit because the families wanted one more picture. I've been asked by doctors to walk in the rooms and make as much noise as I can because the children's not coming out of the anesthesia. I've been told to sit in the hallway and see if the children will come and walk to me because they've had brain surgery and they're just giving up and they don't want to walk and it's too painful. And I'll sit there and spend an hour with one child and have them try to walk to me. Me, I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah.
I get to be me, and I get to wear the red suit.
Call from Landry.
Hello? Hi. Hi, how are you? Good. Why are you calling me today? Okay, so I'm going to listen. It's almost Christmas Eve. My elves are excited, so what can I bring you on Christmas Eve? An iPhone. Okay, what does Mom say about that? Because I can't do that without Mom saying okay.
No,
Okay.
We're keeping this in.
Hi, this is Santa. Dad, is that you? How are you? Your daughter called me. I'm sorry. Well, Merry Christmas to you all. Now, don't forget my cookies and milk, and you've got a bad reputation of eating my cookies, you know. Yes, you. I know you do. But the chocolate chip ones are mine. Well, we'll see what we would do. But listen, I want you to have a great Christmas. Thank you. It's almost time. Okay. You be good. Bye. I get that all the time.
I can't believe we just witnessed that.
We did witness it.
You just made that kid's day. But man, made
So
that
I
kid's
need
year.
to know how he has
Santa's number.
cell
And that's
phone.
what I was thinking. How does that kid get your number?
It's on the webpage.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So people go and look it up and so forth. Yeah.
So
if you're that enterprising and you can track it down and find
Yeah.
it, you deserve a phone call.
So is your phone just ringing off the hook this time
All
of
the
year?
time. That and the mail. All the mail that comes to us from the local post offices. We have sacks and sacks of mail here, and then we answer it. This is the response I send to every child that includes an address on their letter to Santa.
May I
Wow.
take a picture of this?
You can take it with you.
Look at that. Wait,
And I will tell you, I know for a fact that Santa Claus does this because I have offered to the JCs for that red
mailbox. Yeah.
in the village to help with that, and was told that you enjoy doing that.
It's a lot of writing.
Is that you that writes the letters? I mean, Santa Claus?
The elves.
The elves, yes.
Right.
I'm going to sign up to be an elf.
You are?
Yeah. For sure.
You'd make a great
For
elf.
sure. Oh, well, only if he'll have me, but yes. Do you ever have to answer the why me? If a child asks, why am I suffering? Why am I sick? Do you ever have to?
No, children don't ask that. Children would say to me, Santa, can I wear your hat? The angels won't find me and I won't leave my grandmother. Santa, can I go with you to the North Pole? I won't be sick. Santa, will you find me at the North Pole? I'm dying. It's the parents that ask why me. It's the parents that want to know why and don't understand. It's one of the things we were told when we built the facility and why we built it bigger than we planned on was the hospitals told me that there's so much anxiety, there's so much anger, there's so much frustration on these palliative care floors that parents want to hit the doctors. They don't want to hear the news. They don't want to see their child suffer, and they're just frustrated. They don't have the answers. And here's this guy coming down the hallway in a red suit, and one day I walked in, and there's this man, the dad, he's got his arms on the doctor's neck, and he's about to hit him. And I thought that was the rare exception, and they're telling me no. Sadly, that's more true than not. And I don't want to overbear that. It's not every day.
Right.
But you've got to understand the frustration and,
Sure.
and the anger. And every day not knowing, and you're waiting for that doctor to come into the room. So our
Tell
role
you
is very
something
simple. Cute story. I was visiting a hospital, and they knew I'm coming. So the hospital always tells the families a day or two that Santa's coming, so if they want to be there for family pictures, get the children dressed. I started the day at Metro Hospital, and so I'm going through my second floor at Metro, and the child life director got a phone call from the Cleveland Clinic. Could I come over to the clinic right now and go back to Metro? And so she came to me and she says that they have a child that needs to go to surgery. He won't go. He's having a fit because he knows you're coming. He wants to see you. And as it turns out, the doctor can't understand why, and then the child life director tells the doctor that he's waiting for Santa Claus. And so the doctor, in his frustration, says, well, does anybody know how to reach Santa Claus? And the child life director says, yeah, I have his number. So they called, all right, and Metro said, yes, we understand, but would you please come back today? So within 2 phone calls, because we have actual policemen who drive our police cars, we have actual firemen who drive our fire trucks. And when we go to the hospitals, we have ladder trucks, we have pumpers, we have an ambulance carries all my toys. We put the ladder up to the kids' windows and a big 5-foot tall teddy bear at the end of the window. So they wanted to move me from Metro to the clinic as fast as they could. So as we alert the crew on the lower level to let's get ready to go, and we were going to come back, we get down, the guy who's driving our cars, who's a Cleveland policeman, radios ahead to the commander. They closed down I-90. So one half of the expressway was closed down for Santa and his fire trucks to move through town over to the Cleveland Clinic. So we made the distance, I think it was 7 minutes.
Wow.
Got to the room, gave him an autographed football of Bernie Kosar.
Which is a big fan here.
Yes, but now we're going back a few years, and so he was a very, very big fan of everybody. And the child did not make it, but the football is in his casket. And we have a lot of that. I have 22 children that I know personally that are buried wearing Browns jerseys. I one time spoke to the Cleveland Browns, and I told them they have a whole team in uniform.
Wow.
Yeah, when they get tired and they get frustrated, look up to the skies. There's a team in uniform ready to just take them on.
That's awesome.
That. So let's talk a little bit, if we could, Alex, about the experience here. There's a bakery. The Owls there's a workshop here. So what is the daily experience that a child would have when they come out here with you?
Well, what we have here are what we call special days with Santa. We don't have individual families come out. We make a point, because again, the space, we make a point of bringing a lot of people out at one time. So a typical day here could be 300 to 550 people at one time.
How often does that happen?
It happens 12 to 15 times in the summer.
Okay.
All right. To me, it's the best example is Chagrin Falls on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
All right. People walking every which direction. They arrive at the street. They're taken back by a trolley. We have a specially made trolley that holds 27 people, 3 wheelchairs. It's pulled by Mater the tow truck from the movie Cars.
Yes, I have a selfie with him at Lowe's.
Isn't it real?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Mater pulls the trolley around. We have 6 passenger golf carts, and they are taken from the street through the village to the pavilion where the lake is at. So their first stop is they have donuts and cider in the pavilion. Back there we have a lake that's 26 feet deep. We stock it every year with big fish so the kids can go fishing. We have a bait and tackle shop with 102 fishing poles. We have the pavilion where the Chagrin Valley JCs come out and they do all the cooking. We have hot dogs, we have hamburgers, we have McDonald's McNuggets and macaroni and cheese and all the appointments. Then once lunch is served, and out there also back there is a Pepsi concession trailer which stays here. Then we have Pepsi, Aquafina water, and so forth. Pepsi's a tremendous sponsor. Then the village opens up. And then the kids are allowed to go anywhere in the village. And so the village, what do we have? We have a 9-hole putt-putt that's designed for kids in wheelchairs. We have a bank and a post office. It's a real post office. You can see the mail that comes in here comes through that zip code into the North Pole. We have a bank. We don't deal in money. We deal in wishes. So when the kids come to the bank, they fill out a card that says, "My wish is," and then they give it to the wish keeper. Now, the wish keeper determines that not every wish is a good wish. Not every wish can be granted today, but she puts her stamp of approval on it, and then the children put it into the big safe. We have a tailor shop built by Joanne Fabrics, and that's where my suits are repaired and the elf suits are made. We have a bakery. We make homemade chocolate chip cookies right on site. We have an ice cream shop. We have hand-dipped ice cream. We have a general store that has all the Pepsi products in it, plus rows and rows of candy. And we also have that's the shop where the elves go shopping. It's got the elves' favorite breakfast items, lunch items, snacks, different things the elves
Maple
need.
syrup, I'm sure.
It's got syrup in it, of course.
How many elves in this operation?
Approximately 50 to 60 elves, and those are high school teenagers, college students, and so forth.
And this is all done on a volunteer basis, right?
Yes, 100%. There's no salary, no fees or exchange for anybody.
Right.
We all do this, and we've done this strictly to, as I say, to do what Joey asked us, make their mommy smile.
Yeah. And you don't have fundraisers, you don't have big asks, although I'm going to use the power of the podcast to tell people to go to the website, because there's a Santa has his own wish list on there, because as much as you have here for the kids, there's still a lot more you want to give them.
Well, yeah, exactly, and some of the things are actually asked of us by the hospitals, if we can add this, if we can add that. So let me explain. No children spend the night, so we're not an overnight camp. We don't have. First of all, we couldn't get the insurance to do that, so we don't have children that spend the night in their families. It's a one-day visit, and children are never invited twice. So it's one opportunity to come to the North Pole. because I believe in the wow factor. When they come out the first time, everybody goes wow, and you can't duplicate that.
Well, and there's so many kids out there that would want to come out here, and there's only one Santa, and there's only one Santa's Hideaway. And
Correct.
There's only so much you can do.
There's a lot of Santa wannabes. You know,
Right.
these are the guys who put on the suit,
That was me this weekend.
put on the suit and want to earn a few dollars by
Right.
sitting there and making promises.
Yep.
But there's traditionally one Santa, but we need all those others to make sure the children are able to pass on their wishes.
So, if someone wanted to donate to the Santa's own wish list, they would go to Santa's Hideaway Hollow. Is it .com? I guess.
.com.org.
I can honestly say I've never been in a place that has so much Christmas.
You have the wow factor.
I have the wow factor. It's
Well, I tell you, this is just a lot of the stuff in here will go to the new buildings. When I see things that strike my fancy and I say I want this in this building, I buy it, and then it'll come in here until I have a building built that it'll go into. Now the angel behind you will go into the chapel. All these angels will go into the chapel.
Life-size
These
angel
religious lights will go into the
Life-size.
chapel. So all those will go, and that's our next venture. Is we're going to build a chapel. It's going to be for all denominations, and it's going to be for children and their families. When kids are sick, a lot of families don't have a church affiliation. All right, some families, very sadly, don't know God. All right, but when the child gets sick, they find him in a hurry.
yep.
But what they're missing is that family of belonging to a congregation. The support that's there and so forth. So we have been asked by the hospitals if on this chapel we're going to build, we were going to build a building with a table and a nativity set, all right, and make it very simplistic and to match into the North Pole. The hospital asked us if we could actually build a chapel, that we could actually have the service here for a child.
Yeah.
Families are asking for that. This is where their child's the happiest. This is where the memories are. Instead of going to a strange location where nobody knows them. So we have said yes, and we're going to build a chapel that will seat 101 people. It's going to have a 14-person choir loft, and it's going to be all denominations, and all the religions that are out here all want to be part of it.
Wow. That's
So,
so great.
And Holy Angels in Bainbridge just had what they call the We Give Catholic Day, and Holy Angels is the only parish in the Archdiocese that instead of trying to raise money for them, raised money for an outside source, which was us.
Wow.
So we have been donated to us $27,500,
Wow.
and then the Archdiocese has given us $2,500 to bring it up to $30,000. Larry Dolan has promised $2,500 towards the construction of the foundation. Now this is an expensive building because of the size of it, but it's going to be nice. We're going to have a chapel at the North Pole for families, and again, it's all free. There is nothing. Money does never exchange hands here. We won't even accept a donation from a family when they're here.
Right.
We will not. I don't want to ever compromise, embarrass, think that they have to. That's not us. That's not why we do it.
All right, Santa, we gotta skedaddle here pretty soon. So we're gonna do the lightning round questions. Lightning round. All right.
Lightning round.
The lightning round questions are coming.
Okay.
Are you ready?
You didn't prepare me for these.
No, I know. We're
They're simple.
yeah.
We've already gone through the heavy stuff. This is going to be a breeze.
Well, yeah. I mean, and feel free to refer back. I think we might have even covered some of these. So the first one is biggest success.
My daughter.
Good.
Which is the picture behind you.
Yes, she graduates next Saturday in Florida. She is a doctor of chiropractic medicine. She then is going to Texas to become a second degree, a doctor of chiropractic veterinary medicine. She is going to work on large animals, horses, chiropractically, as well as
Reindeers.
children. Yes.
See, you guys have giving hardwired into your DNA in this family, it sounds like.
My daughter's been at grad school for 3.5 years, and nonstop through the summer, everything. But every time I have a visit, she does all the arranging of all the elves. She has stayed involved 100%.
She's beautiful.
She takes, and I'm sorry for that. You know, I really am.
She takes after you, Tom Cruise.
You know, it's when you're a dad of a young girl, you wish you had a mole on her nose
Yeah.
growing out of it. I'm sorry we
Yes.
paid for those braces.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
in trouble
it's
with that one.
yes.
I've
yes.
got this problem right now. Try not
Does
to
she
think
love
about
Christmas?
Absolutely. You know, it's funny, when she was younger, I think I embarrassed her a lot because all her friends would say, is your dad really Santa? Is your dad Santa? She couldn't, in her own decision, she didn't go to some of the wild parties because Santa wouldn't want her to. She had to watch how she drive down here because she was in a Santa car all the time. You know, her girlfriend said to her one time, "You don't always have to be nice because you're Santa's daughter." And my daughter said, "Yes, I do." But my daughter, when she applied for college, she went to the College of Worcester. She went to Notre Dame High School. In her paper to the college, she wrote and said, "I believe in honesty, and my name is Jordan Dieterle, and I am an elf. And if you can understand that, I have to also tell you my father is Santa Claus." That was her introduction, okay, and that was her paper, and she wrote. What hurt me was she wrote also in there that I was never there for her. I missed her first communion. I missed her confirmation. I would show up in the beginning to see her receive the host, and then I left to go see a child. Even on her graduation, I had an appointment with children who I couldn't put off, that it was too important, and I didn't think it bothered her, but it did. But in the paper, she also went on to say that once she realized that I was truly him, that I was the real Santa Claus, she realized that she just didn't have a dad, that he belonged to everybody.
Was there a time in her childhood when she came up to you and said, "Dad, I think you're Santa"?
No, I was in Denver doing consulting work for Tony Roma's restaurants. My wife called me and said, "You have a problem." My daughter, we always farmed her out when I would get dressed because I didn't want to ruin it for her. She was at my wife's sister's house, and she goes, "Aunt, I have a secret." And my aunt, of course, played dumb, which, and so Jordan explained to her that she knows that I am Santa because she hears the bells and she found things in my room. So the next time I was home and I had a visit, I brought her into the room as I was getting dressed and putting on the final gloves. And I explained to her that who I was and what I do, and I said, "I need you to be involved. I need you to understand." And I sat her on the bed, and she stood up, and I said, "Now I am your dad. When I put on my ring, and I have a gold ring that's in the shape of a reindeer," I said, "when I put on this ring, I am Santa. And I am Santa to every child that needs me." And I said, "I need you to make that step for me. You must always remind me to put on my ring. In fact, you must be the one to put it on." So that became her job for years, that when I got dressed, she would run into the room, jump on the bed, and she would hold the gold ring in her hand until I was ready to put it on. And that was the last thing I ever put on. It was the gold ring.
Wow.
And then the fun part was when the visit is over, I'd come back in, and then she would take it off and then throw her arms around me and say, "Daddy's back."
Oh, that's the best.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Next lightning round question, Bill. If you can think of one, biggest failure.
You know, it's pretty easy. Not being a priest.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. You don't understand how much I wanted that. How much I really. That was such a part of me. That.
Don't you feel you are in just a different avenue or a different way?
You know,
And I'm Catholic, so I know what it comes with. But
you know, so a lot of people say this is a mission, and this is, you know, my ministry, and I don't use those words because the ministry to me is the priesthood and the nuns. There's a certain amount of respect for them. As I said earlier, I always told my wife that if anything ever happened to her, I'd go back. All right? I mean, I even considered at one time, I went through the interview process of becoming a deacon in the church, in the Catholic Church. And then I got a visit from my pastor, and he said, "Don't do it. I don't want you to do it, and I will blackball you if you try." He said simply is you would have to give up being Santa, and this is more important for the children than being a deacon for me. Now, that was Father Lobby from Holy Angels back then. I don't know.
I would,
To me, one of the biggest thrills I had recently was Holy Angels invited me to speak at the altar. Okay, so on This We Give Catholic, and I had a ball. All right, I actually had a ball. I'm asked to give a lot of speeches. I've been asked to speak inside various churches, and I love it. I'm a big fan of religion. It's my foundation. Well,
I'll tell you this. I'm a firm believer that there really is no limitation in life, and that if you want it, you will, and you will it, you can make it happen. And I wouldn't see any reason, if you're going to build a chapel over here, why you couldn't do that. And then you decide, do you want to be Santa or a priest? Alternately, you were already questioning.
He wouldn't be able for a Catholic church. He wouldn't be able to because he's married, so he wouldn't be able to go back and forth like that. We have strict rules.
Is that true, Bill? Could you kind of do an offshoot of Catholicism that would allow?
Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
So
but I would say this.
Yeah.
I have my license. I do perform weddings.
Yeah, there you go.
Again, this is I went to Father Dan when I first did it. I was asked by an elf who volunteered for me for years and years that would I get the license and would I do her wedding, and I said sure. Who would have thought 5 years would go by? But I did do it, and she asked me to it. It was a Christmas wedding, and I did it in my red suit. But I talked to Father Dan, and I said, does this bode well, for the church? And he said it's like being a captain on a boat. It's legally responsible, but it's not religious. He said, all I ask you to do is if you have a Catholic come to you and want to do it, ask them not to. Ask them to go back to the church. All right.
Can I ask a Catholic question because I don't know anything about Catholicism?
I was going to say,
we
agreed no politics or religion, but we've already brought religion in.
I'm going to see if I can ask this in a way that won't offend anybody. Is there, if somebody wants to get into the priesthood after they've been married and they've got a family, and they can't strictly do it according to the traditional standards?
No, they can. Actually, if you're married, and there has been examples of this, people in their life that the children are all grown, maybe the wife had passed away or whatever, and they can go to the church and get dispensation. They may even get a divorce, but not a divorce. It's called a separation of something. There's a Latin term for it, and then they can go into the seminary. There's been instances where in the past, not often, but the wife went into the convent and the husband went into the priesthood.
I see.
But they were no longer married. Okay. There's things of that regard. Okay, that's why I always said to my wife, if anything happened to her, because she was always afraid she would die young because her mom died young. So I said, if that happens, because the typical question, if something happened to me, what would you do? All right, would you get remarried? Blah blah blah. Which is always a trap. Those are questions you don't want to answer.
Oh, I tell my husband I'll get married, but it'll be for money the second.
There you go. There you go.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, we've talked about that from the very beginning. When I proposed to her, I told her that.
Okay.
She asked me, do you have other girlfriends and this and that? And I said, well, yeah, probably one. But
but there isn't like a junior priesthood. Short of becoming a full priest.
That would be the deacon.
The deacon.
A deacon can be married.
Yeah, we have a farm club. It's
triple A.
But you could be a deacon. It sounds like.
Well, you can.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
But
yeah.
Well,
the deacon.
I look for answers, Bill. I try to find
full priest, and if that's truly what is in his heart, then
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was asked not to because of the requirements of the deacon. I would not be available on a moment's notice for the children.
So the church felt that your mission was more in this outlet than it would be as a deacon. You're doing more for the children in the red suit.
Yeah. All right. Third lightning round question is, do you ever have like self-limiting beliefs? Do you ever?
No.
Never.
No.
I love that. Look at that. Strong. Solid.
So 6 podcasts. This is the 7th podcast, and you're only the second one so far. So 5, 2. You're the second podcast guest to have no limiting beliefs. That's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you. I need to learn that skill. Mm-hmm. Right. That's awesome. And then lastly, Molly, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, I would love to ask my question. Do you have an influential woman, a mother figure in your life that you could tell us about? Somebody that was influential.
Oh, it's my wife. There's no question. It's my wife.
She keeps you straight.
She's my biggest enemy. She's my best friend. She's my confidant, and she's the reason I do this, because it was her who made me. You know, the greatest thing is I have this excuse my whole life. Whenever she says to me, "I'm spending too much money on Santa," that I'm not doing anything in the house, I'm always in the back at the North Pole, that I'm traveling, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or I'm buying this angel, or I'm buying these toy soldiers, that I get to stand there in complete honesty and say, "Honey, you're right, but it's your fault."
Made me do it.
But
And
she
it
does
is.
so much behind the scenes. My wife is really, she claims to be shy, but I don't know. But I'm the one that's out front talking to the children. She makes sure I'm dressed. The elves come here to get dressed. She makes sure they're all in proper uniform. They all have their job descriptions. They all have their names. They all have their history that they can talk to the children. They have all the outfits are done and ready. Okay, because we have 3 different types of outfits that we wear. We rotate. She makes sure that the schedule is all done. She gets and talks to the elf moms, because every trip we have an elf mom with us, because we're traveling with young high school girls, college girls, and if they have a problem and so forth, I'm not going to send a fireman with them, but I do. Elf mom goes with the children, with the elves, if they have to go to the bathroom, if they have to go back out to the truck to get more toys.
Right.
Elf mom travels with them, and there's a fireman behind them for security. I treat every one of my elves like I treat my own daughter. I will protect them and lay down my life to protect them. So my wife does all that, okay?
It's a lot of logistics.
Yeah, it really is. And
Yeah.
as far as the toys and whatnot, we'll go through, once a week we'll go through toys. Okay, we're going to use this for this family. I'll get a phone call. Okay, I've got these children and this, and I'll find out the history. And then we'll sit down and we'll, downstairs, which is a totally finished room. It's another kitchen downstairs, another laundry room. I think it was the in-law suite when the owner built this. But it's all toys, so it's all itemized, and we just go down and pull and this and that. They're all color coordinated. They're all wrapped, and there are little codes around them, and nobody can tell what they are except us.
And do you take donations for those?
We do. A couple of people will try to bring us toys, but when you're dealing with kids who are very, very sick, some toys don't work. Mm-hmm. They have to be brand new, and they have to be in a condition that they can't hurt a child or damage. So some of the stuff that we get donated doesn't work, and then we'll give that to another charity. So a lot of times we like to go out and just buy everything, because if you're talking to a child and his like or special like is this and that, you don't have it, we get it. You know.
That's a great ending there.
Yeah, love it. All right, well,
Thank you
yeah,
much for allowing us to
really appreciate it.
have a sneak peek in this amazing.
Well, one thing, I don't know if you knew, but this year was the first year we had a Veterans Day. We had a day for disabled veterans.
Oh, that's great.
And it wasn't planned, not originally, but I had a day with kids, and then a man with a veteran's hat on, and he had a prosthetic leg with that spring on the bottom, and it's like a half moon that he walked on, and he asked me if we would ever consider doing a day for disabled vets, and we did that. And it turned out to be extraordinary. It was a cold, rainy day in October. It was the end of the season. We had 150 vets. 84 of them got haircuts in our barber shop, and to me, I didn't think anything of it, but to the VA hospital, that was huge.
Wow.
These guys absolutely loved it. And so we're going to do again that one next year. But the remarkable thing is we've already gotten contact from the Air Force. They're going to do a flyover. We've gotten contact from the National Guard. They're going to send some Humvees and troop carriers over. So it's just that has just blossomed so big, because it's for the vets. It's
Yeah.
for the disabled
So great.
vets. And we had 4 types here. We had PTSD, spinal injuries, respiratory, and blind. And they were just phenomenal in their families.
That's great.
And we can visit the website, and I know there's a link to help, to volunteer.
Yes, there's an application right on the webpage to volunteer, to fill out the forms. And we also have days where we look for volunteers to come out and work, to paint, to build, to improve, to clean up, so on and so forth.
So I encourage all our listeners it'll be more rewarding than it will be work. I will probably guarantee that.
Bill, thank you very much. This was
Thank you.
awesome.
This was wonderful.
Well,
Really
Merry
appreciate
Christmas.
it. Merry Christmas to you. And thanks for listening to the best podcast ever. Have an awesome day and an awesome week.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy
Go be
Hanukkah.
amazing. Go be amazing.
Go be amazing. Whatever else you celebrate, enjoy the holidays.
Ho, 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 ho.